Hi everyone and welcome to Knife Rev. Today we're going to take a look at 10 things you need to look for when you purchase a new knife. Alright, so number one would be the overall finish. You just bought it, you get it out of the box. So you just want to take a quick look to make sure that nothing really stands out. So that's very basic, very general, easy to do. Number two would be to look at tool markings. When you get it from the factory, if they did a great job, you shouldn't see any heavy machine marks on the blade. And if it's smooth and you don't see any deep toolings or anything that looks like it's unfinished, they probably did a pretty good job. And also that applies to the top where the spine is and the handle and the bottom. It should be tool mark free if it was done properly. Alright, so number three will be the edge grind. You want to make sure that the grind on the edge is symmetrical. It's not going up and down, it's not varying, it's all pretty uniform, and you want to make sure that that's done on both sides of the knife. So the edge grind should be pretty symmetrical with no variations going up and down on both sides. Alright, number four would be checking the edge for chips, and you can do this on your nail. Just do it carefully, just lightly pass it over your nail, and if there are any chips on there, you're going to feel it, and it'll be like little tiny bumps. So make sure that there are no chips on the knife. You can also do a visual inspection with a magnifying glass, or if you have a microscope you can do it even better, but for me it's sufficient that if I pass it over my nail and I don't feel anything, I'm pretty confident that it doesn't have any major chips. Number five would be the plunge grind. You want to make sure that the plunge grind is even. Now, with different manufacturers, they're depending, especially with semi-custom manufacturers that do this by hand. This is very critical, and it may never be perfect because it's not machine done. It's not by some guy on a grinder, and it may not be totally symmetrical. But you can take a minor differences in the angles over here and be okay. But if you happen to get a knife that and I've had this happen recently from a semi-custom manufacturer where the plunge grind was way off. I mean, it was like about 1/8 or so here and writing on the top on the other side, and that shouldn't happen. I mean, you're paying pretty good money for a handcrafted knife, and you should be very close to a symmetrical plunge grind. And if they let one go like that, it's either bad QC or they're hoping that somebody doesn't notice. But it should be very close, not totally off. If there's a minor discrepancy, especially on these semi-custom knife makers that do it by hand, it should be very close. There could be just a tiny hair off, and I have some that are like that, which is not a big deal. But if it's way off, then it is problematic. Next thing we want to look at is tip symmetry. You want to make sure that the tip comes to a nice point and it's even on both sides of the blade. So it should come to a nice point, ground evenly, and not be off from one to another. Alright, so number 7 would be the spine. If it's square or rounded, that depends on the model. There should be no tool markings or any grind marks on there. It should be finished with a polish, very nicely done. And also the angles of the spine should be one angle. And I've had one in particular where part of the blade here was angled off from here down. It was angled off from one angle on this side, it was angled to the other side, so it's totally off. They totally missed it, and still sent it out anyways, but that one got returned. But you want to make sure that the grind is even, whether it's round or if it's square. It's just that it's even and it's not ground off in one angle or the other. Number 8 would be the scale, fit, and finish. There should be no gaps between the metal and the scale material, and you want to check all around, on the back, on the bottom, that make sure that everything is fit closely, no gaps in between, that it's been fit it properly. Number 9 would be transitions. You want to make sure that the metal and scales, whatever material they are, that they actually transition between metal and material, scale material, smoothly. You shouldn't feel any bumps or any hang-ups there, all the way around the knife. It should be very smooth. And also the pins, if your knife has some pins, you should run your finger over it and you shouldn't be able to feel anything. It should be very smooth. And if it's not, then it's not a major thing depending on how far off it is. But ideally, this should be all smooth and you shouldn't feel anything. And number 10 would be the sheath. It should fit very, positive on the Kydex sheath. The Kydex shouldn't have any sharp corners where it can cut you or be uncomfortable. Ideally it wouldn't rattle, and the fit should be positive. When you put it in there, you should be able to have a nice click, a nice snap, and make sure that it's secure. So these are just some sample knives that I had. There's really nothing wrong with these. I just wanted to use them so you can actually see or have something to show you of what I'm looking for when I get a new knife. And believe it or not, all the points that I have talked about, I have received some that I've returned because some of the things were just botched, really too far gone. And when you're paying good money for a semi-custom knife, I'm not saying that they're going to be perfect because they are handmade, but it should be pretty good, pretty well done. I mean, the quality, that's what you're paying for, is the quality of the knife and manufacture to be done well. And if it's really bad, or there are some points that are really bad, it's going to be your decision to decide, well, can I live with this or not? There are some imperfections that I have in mind that says, well, it's not a big deal, I can live with it. And I've had some that were so bad that no, I'm going to return this. This is unacceptable. So it becomes your choice, but at least you're aware of what to look for, and you can make a decision based on, well, did they actually do, and did you get what you paid for? That comes, that's the final call, I think. So, anyways, I thought I'd spend a few minutes to give you an idea what I'm looking for when I get a new knife, and hopefully it gives you some ideas to, look at some of these knives a little bit differently when you get your next purchase. So, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.